Hey, welcome into Outdoor Secrets Unwrapped. I'm your host, Chris Bates, and we are doing our live show for the month of February, and we are at the Erienna Hunt Club. And I have been here for one day already, and boy, I'll tell you what, we have so much to cover, and we have Matt Betzworth here today. He is the manager of Erienna Hunt Club, and thank you so much for having us here. You got some great property out here, and I was just like, wow, I'd love to see all of it. But, a little bit before we get started on that, I'm from the Midwest, I'm from Illinois. How long has this place been here?
We opened up in 2003.
2003.
Yep.
Wow.
The owners owned the property since 1996.
And how did they come about, let's make it a hunt club? Was it just because of the way the property is? Is it floodlit plain? What caused it to become what it is today?
He's in the construction business, taking some customers out hunting, and then he decided, he's like, might as well make it a club.
Right? It's like, what better thing to do than to have a hunt club with property that you're like, what do we do with it? Right?
Yep.
So I noticed that the fields are really nice. They're set up for flushers. They're set up for pointers. And I know that there's different types of fields, right? What are your fields set up with? Like, what kind of cover is it? Like, some could be sorghum, some could be what?
Some of them are sorghum, some are prairie grass, and then there's a few of them that are both prairie grass and sorghum.
And how many acres do you have here?
500.
500 acres.
Yep.
Do you think that, I understand the rules in Illinois, and I understand how things go. How big are each field that you have your hunters in, and how many hunters can you have?
We got 9 total fields, and the smallest one's probably about 10 acres. The biggest one's probably 40 acres.
So is that like the smaller stuff? Do you have that specifically baby puppies?
Yeah, young dogs training for some older gentlemen that can't walk very long.
And you have birds. I saw your flight pen out there. How do you buy mature birds? How is your system set up? Because I know some places buy younger birds and they finish them out. Some people buy finished birds.
I buy day-old chicks.
Wow. So you guys spend the time to raise them, huh?
Yep. We start off with day-old chicks and we raise them all the way up to full grown.
And how do you do that with your customers? Because somebody was telling me this is not a membership club, how does that work? Because a lot of places I was at a long time ago, you buy a membership and then you have to pay separate for birds and all this. How does it work here at Erienna Hunt Club?
Yeah, no memberships. You just pay per bird. We got a 4 pheasant minimum per hunter, so it makes it cost effective for people that only come out a few times.
Right.
You don't have to pay for the membership.
Right. I always wondered, what the heck does a membership even do anyway?
Yep.
Right?
Yep. Makes it nice.
So, you pay a membership fee to a club. What do you really get? On top of, you have to pay for your birds, right?
Yep.
So this, you have a really nice clubhouse. I really like all the waterfowl stuff, the pheasant stuff. I mean, again, things go into this club that other people come in and go, wow. Like me, when I first walked in, I was like, wow, that's surprising, right?
Yep. Yeah, we got a lot of stuff hanging around here.
You get it? No pun intended. It's hanging from the
We don't need it anymore.
Right. So who comes up with this idea? You come up with it and you say, hey, you know what? Let's just do this.
Yep. The owner loves all the mounts.
Right.
The owner of the place, he's a real big duck hunter.
Oh, I see.
That's why he pretty much bought the property.
And a pheasant property,
yep,
right?
Yep.
Wait, I got duck stuff in a pheasant club.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
It's like, how does that work? So, how do people get involved in Erienna Hunt Club? They just somehow word of mouth and they say, oh, I think I'm going to call them up, and they say, hey, I want to come out on a Tuesday. Do you have any openings? Is that how that works?
Yep, pretty much. We got a website and everything. We don't do a lot of advertisement.
Right.
Pretty much just somebody tells them, hey, I went to this great place.
Right.
And they're like, hey, let's check it out.
Right. Yeah. How many birds do you guys go through a year?
We raised 12,000.
12,000 birds.
12,000 pheasants, and we chuckers and huns. We go through about 1,500 of them.
Wow. So, that's a lot of birds. So I think about that in terms of people. So you probably run quite a few people through here. And you have your regulars, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, there's some guys that hunt every week and some once a month.
Right. So what, sometimes I don't like to ask costs of birds because they fluctuate. But for coming out, 4-bird minimum, what is your 4-bird minimum cost?
$116.
That's cheap.
Yep. Yep.
When you think of the club thought process, and then when you come in, you have tables, you could have a soft drink, you could have little snacks, you got all kinds of stuff here. I think for $116 is pretty darn good to come out and have fun for a few hours.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yes, very cost efficient.
Right?
Yep.
And I always say this too, less is more. Right? So when I was looking at your fields and stuff, less is more, because it's phenomenal for it. We're going to be filming some stuff out here with some dogs, which will be really a lot of fun. I can't wait to show that show, which is really good. But again, how do people find you guys? Like, what's your website?
EriennaHuntClub.com.
How do you spell that? Because, when I first saw it, I was like, how do you say this word, right?
ERIENNA.
Okay, .com.
HuntClub.com.
Yep. And you have a phone number that you might want to give out?
815-955-9498.
All right. Well, you know what? I can't wait. We're going to have a blast. I just know this. And it's going to be a fun time. And I can't wait to come in and tell you all kinds of cool stories. Like, how many times do you have to hear that? Wow, this bird got up, it flew to the right, I rocked it. Or I heard a new term the other day, pillow flyer. I'm like, what the heck is a pillow flyer? And then you're like, poof.
Feathers everywhere.
Right. All right. Thank you so much for having us here, and we're going to have a great time.
All right. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thanks. All right, folks, hang tight. We'll be back with more right after this from the Erienna Hunt Club.
I'm Jim Savage, guide at Erienna Hunt Club, and you're watching Outdoor Secrets Unwrapped.
Welcome back to Outdoor Secrets Unwrapped. We're coming to you live from Erienna Hunt Club in Morris, Illinois, as we are on the road again. Boy, I'll tell you what a time I am going to have out pheasant hunting, looking at some great dogs. But my next guest is Jim Savage, and he is one of the Erienna Hunt Club's guides. And I want to talk about rules. Rules are very important at a club, or just with guns.
Yeah,
we need to have rules. So, as a guide, and you have your group, you're taking 4 guys, 2 women, whatever you're doing. Do you sit them down and go over rules with them before you go out in the field?
Yes. Actually, we either break up outside here, outside the door, or when we get to our field we're going to hunt, I'll get them in a group and talk to them about things like we don't shoot birds on the ground. We want to stay in a straight line. If birds get up and go behind you, make sure you're not swinging over people.
Right.
Bring the gun up, turn, shoot, or we just call it safety.
Right.
Basically, we want to see air over the dogs. You're not going to shoot anything that's flying low.
Right.
There's always going to be another bird.
So when I have had my gun dogs, I was always really nervous, regardless, about people hunting around my dogs, because we have thousands of dollars put into these dogs.
Yes.
So, I came up with the 8-foot rule, and, I didn't want to be hard on people, but can you be hard on people because think about this for a second. If you have an 8-foot rule and they shoot at something less than 8 foot, you're done. the bottom line is you're done. You're going back to your truck, and
Yeah.
and I hate to be that way, but
There might be a stern warning the first time, but the second time we'll be done. You can't afford that kind of thing to go on in the field. First off, a lot of people think it's only a dog, but those are our pets. Those are
that's
our
right.
family
That's
members.
absolutely right. I think people miss that.
Yeah, and I'm not going home without my dog, because if I do, I don't know if I have a place to stay.
Right. Do you tell people you don't need Nitro Mag 4 shells? You really don't need a big. I recommended bring 20 gauges if they had them, but do you recommend smaller caliber guns for this type of hunting?
Yeah, I personally like smaller gauge guns for this. I generally shoot with a 28 gauge,
Right.
and that's all I ever shoot.
Right.
But, if you're shooting like a 1 ounce 6 load out of a 20 gauge, that's more than 7/8.
Right.
That's enough, because your points are going to be, by the time the bird's flush, you're going to be like 15 yards, 20 yards.
Right.
You're going to have some birds that are long, but then you just can't do anything about that.
Do you have clients that sometimes, that are nervous, that will tell you, I've never done this before? How do you handle that type of situation on a place where you might have a couple experienced shooters with non-experienced? How do you handle it as a guide?
As a guide, when a guy tells me I've never done this before, I keep him real close to me. He's next to me.
Very
and
good.
then I put the experienced shooters on the outside.
Very good.
I don't want anybody not to come here because they're not experienced, because we'll help you through that.
But how many times do you think that really happens?
It's happened to me already this year,
Right.
probably 4 times.
And that's wrong. I think that if you have people that know, hey, it's safe to come out here, let's do it. Let's teach you how to do it. Because people, I think, do get intimidated by the fact that they're not as good as their friend, whoever it is their friend is,
Yeah, that's true. And I recommend those guys to come with a break open gun. Walk with it broke open.
Yeah.
When the dog goes on point and we establish that there's going to be a bird, lock her up, be ready to go.
Do you require people to carry their gun up? Because you know how sometimes they put them under their shoulder and they're pointing down, and
The guys on the end, I want them pointing away from everybody. The guys in the middle, I want them up.
yeah.
The other thing too is if I got a left-handed shooter, I put him on the right side because his swing is that way. So
Right.
you're not
Right.
tempted to do the opposite.
Those are all questions you ask, though, right? Hey, who's a right-handed
Who's
shooter?
right-handed, who's left-handed?
Yeah.
Also, when we go in on a flush, it's always guns up. Guns up, going in.
Right.
Nothing like this.
Right. Yeah, you don't want to be very, very quiet.
No.
I'm hunting pheasant. You know, you don't want it. Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Yep.
Why? Ground swatting is like the worst thing ever.
Not much of a sport.
Right.
Yeah.
I look at that as like waterfowl hunting. How many people water swat? It's like, what the heck are you doing?
Yeah.
But it's really important, and to make people understand that the dog is part of the crew, right?
Yeah.
And I think sometimes it's hard to get that across to people.
I think a lot of times the dog work's the only reason I'm here. But
Right.
when they start seeing how that goes, and the dog's steady, the wing and shot.
Yeah.
They're not the dog's not going anywhere when the bird's killed until I send him. It becomes a real good experience for them, because then they feel safer too, and then they're like, okay, every dog has a day. There are
Right.
going to be mistakes,
Right.
But they see that and they really like that.
Do you find that hunt clubs in general are really for the handler of the dog, and then the end result is having people come out to harvest a few pheasants, but you really want the dog work, right? You want the dog work.
Yeah, I'm a stickler for dog
Right,
work.
right.
So I'm right at home with a 12 and 15 bird hunt instead of a 50 bird hunt.
Right, because when you have customers or clients that come with you, it's really not about them. It's really about the dog, and as a handler.
But then again, they're spending good money, so you want to give them their value.
Right, you want to give them their opportunities.
And that's where this place is really good. I mean,
exactly.
You see your birds, and
exactly. I think that's wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, this is a really cool thing. Thank you very much for spending some time with me. You made some really good points, and I'm glad that you were able to talk about safety and all that stuff too. So,
number one.
All right. Well, folks, hang tight. We're going to be back with more right after this from the Erienna Hunt Club in Morris, Illinois.
I'm Erica Tanner. Stay tuned for more Outdoor Secrets Unwrapped after these messages.
Welcome back to Outdoor Secrets Unwrapped. I'm your host, Chris Bates, and we are coming to you from the Erienna Hunt Club in Morris, Illinois. My next guest, PJ Sullivan. He's been a friend of mine for a long time. He invited us down to hang out with him to do some pheasant hunting. But the thing about PJ is that he's into labs. And I love people that love their dogs, love their breed. And you know so much about a Labrador Retriever, right? So about that, the first thing I want to ask is, are they good family dogs?
Oh, fantastic family dogs. Like in the 20th century, the Labrador became the number one AKC breed that's been the number one family dog.
Right.
As far as like hunters and people who purchased the dog, it's the number one dog in the nation.
So and then they're so good at being a family dog that you can also have them as a gun dog.
Absolutely.
And they can do both.
Yes.
Right? And, we talked a little bit earlier about the different types of lines. You have English Labradors, you have American Labradors.
Yeah.
What is the main difference? Because when people say, "Oh, I have a black lab," it's like, well, do they really know what they have, right?
Sometimes that they don't.
Right.
So,
right. What do you have?
So the British Lab is more of a stockier, low to the ground, big head. A little bit slower, very loving, like they all are.
Right.
The English and American is basically what they are. American Lab, they're sleek, greyhoundish.
Right.
People have referred to them as that. They're now the primary hunting dog. Is for many. That's not taking away anything from the British Lab, but these are being selected out. The field trial lines and even the nationals are primarily English American labs.
Oh, wow.
If you look at the top 20 in the nationals, they're all labs.
Wow.
And so, but yeah, that's pretty much the British and the English would. I don't know. I have never really owned a British Lab, so I don't know all the ins and outs. I have friends that have.
Yeah.
And I just know that they tire out a little faster. They're lower to the ground, and
that's one of the things we talk about with dogs is how long can your dog last, right? The endurance. The other thing that I want to talk to you about too is, for my whole entire lifetime, I've always known Labrador Retrievers to be water dogs and flushers.
Sure.
But apparently they can point. And I know that all dogs point. I don't care what kind of dog it is, they're going to point. Whether it's a Chihuahua, a Poodle, a Labrador, or a short hair, whatever. But the pointing lab, is that a real thing, or is that something that you need to train them for?
That is a line they have out there, and they are incredibly hard to find. A good one. We had bought our dog, well, it's Joe's dog, Bo, from Black Partridge Kennels.
Okay.
And they're down south, and they have an incredibly good pointing lab line.
So they specifically have lineage for this.
Yeah.
Wow.
And Bo is, his half of his line is a waterfowl line,
right,
which came from my dog, and the other half is a pointing lab line, and that is something that we experienced and you've seen over the last day, that he points just as good as a pointer.
Wow.
And for us, since we do both waterfowl and upland, that is the best all-around dog for us. And he is actually the first pointing lab that we've had.
So, I know that some of the pointing breeds are dual breeds, some of them, not all of them. Because generally a Labrador Retriever, hence the word retriever, they can bring things back to you. The pointing breeds sometimes don't. So to have a dual pointer is a lot tougher than to have a dual dog, a dual lab.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. Because a lot of times they just don't want to retrieve, where a lab, again, is kind of bred for that, to bring stuff back.
Yeah, and a lot of that, as we discussed in the field, a lot of that stuff is covered in training. You can get a lot of the dogs will retrieve. You just hone that in a little bit better during what you train all season long, especially the time frame between 5 months and 1 year is very crucial for building the foundations.
Because they're imprinting.
That. Yes.
Right, they're imprinting.
And by a year old, you should have retrieving down for sure.
Right.
Returning retrieves, fetching without any problems, and blind retrieves. And you should be working on the start of hand signals.
Right.
And that goes back in the fishing days, like the 1800s, where they used labs to, up in Canada, they've retrieved fish that have fallen on a net. That was the whole start of it. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, they were.
That's a whole nother show.
Yes. Yeah.
To retrieve fish.
Yeah.
Wow.
They were known as the St. John water dog.
Wow.
And in the 1900s, they got imported to England.
Yeah.
And then around 1917, they came to America.
Wow. That's amazing.
So fish was what they retrieved first.
Yeah. Wow.
Now we got.
Who would have thought that, right? And then all of a sudden, here they are. They're duck dogs. They're pheasant dogs. They're all kinds of things with them. And a family dog, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, they like to sleep in the bed and ride shotgun in the truck. You know?
Well, we are just about out of time. It's amazing. Yeah. Thank you so much for having us come out and visit you, and it's great to see you. I was just like, wow, how long has it been, right?
I know,
it's been a long time. So, all right, hang tight. All right, folks, we got to get running. Thank you, Erienna Hunt Club, for having us out. It was a great atmosphere, great guests. If you guys ever want to come out and you're in the Midwest, go ahead and go to www.eriennahuntclub.com. They got a great website. Give them a holler, and we're good to go. We'll talk to you all next month.
I'm Erica Tanner, and you're watching Outdoor Secrets Unwrapped on Comcast Cable 1075.
Meet you again. May God bless you. Adios. Wise men say only fools rush in. While I'm hiking up